Hypnerotomachia Poliphili, published just a year before the beginning of the 16th century, is a book that contains the highest of the intricacies a reader can indulge themselves in. The book, much like the other two books that we are going to analyze in our adventure, is about a journey that the main character, Poliphilo, embarks on, during which he encounters many aesthetical figures, mythological personas, and architectural masterpieces. The name can both stand for the lover of many or the lover of Polia, which is the name of the beloved character of our narrator. The book not only focuses on the love affair, which runs through the book as the main theme, but on many other things that make Poliphilo appreciate his surroundings, and extremely marvelous happenings which baffle him more and more as we read through the pages. Having said all this, you can definitely enjoy this book without wanting to understand its many intricacies. Even though it was written and published in the 15th century, its content, the style of writing, the woodcut imagery that embellishes the high-class choice of words, make the whole book timeless. The introduction that I've used was from the book, and this gradually narrowing stylization of the text is used frequently throughout the pages. For example, when describing the ornaments of a vase, you can realize that the text is shaped like a vase as well. The details that go into every page and the hospitality of the writers does not end there. At the end of the book, the readers are presented with appendices that include an architectural dictionary for all the terms that appear in the book, and there are a lot of them, and translations for the Latin and Greek inscriptions that appear on many structures and artifacts. The book offers us an understanding of the seemingly complex title, deconstructing it, and providing a general reference, and setting the atmosphere for the readers. I must say, it is definitely not an easy read. However, it can be reread without any problem, as its dense choice of words opens doors the more you read them again. Just to make you understand what I'm talking about, here's an excerpt from the earlier pages of the book. Left alone with my deep thoughts about love, I passed the long and tedious nights sleeplessly, altogether disconsolate about my fruitless fortune and my adverse and evil star. I sighed and wept for my importunate and unsuccessful love, thinking over point by point the nature of unmatched affection, and how best to love someone who does not love in return. Now, in this section, I will analyze a series of events from the start of the book until Poliphili arrives at the new land. We begin right away with Poliphilo's dire need of finding a remedy for his unmatched affection. He begins to dream soon after, and finds himself in a dense forest, resembling the nature of his adventure, with regard to the scale of complexity implied by the narrator. Later on, Poliphilo finds himself seeking remedy to this immense thirst he feels. At that moment, he comes near to a stream of water, and when ready to quench his thirst with the sweet water, he hears a godlike melody, a song which he believes to be from Tamiras of Thrace. The sound that Poliphilo cheers is so full of emotion that Poliphilo lets go of the water he held in his palms and starts looking for the source. Its sweetness and charm gave me much more pleasure than the little cup I was offering myself, so that the water began to run out between my fingers. My mind was as though stupefied and senseless, my appetite sated. As, powerless to resist, I loosed my knuckles and spilled it on the damp earth. However, even though he tries to find the source, he cannot make it near to it. This divine voice always keeps his distance from him, causing Poliphilo to feel disoriented at the end. At last, Poliphilo finds himself to be aching from exhaustion, to the point that he lays aside and falls into sleep, during which Poliphilo's main story begins. The world that Poliphilo will soon step into can be likened to the circles of Dante or Jung's desert that we have mentioned before. In either case, every author evaluates and explains this wonderful journey in their own circumference. The role Poliphilo plays is that of an ascetic lover who encounters wonderful artifacts, buildings with various ornaments, nymphs and angels, and figures that stem from the world of Greek mythology, and most importantly, the track of his dear, most beloved Polia, whom he loves dearly. One of the first of these artifacts that he encounters is an obelisk. Poliphilo goes on to elaborate his fondness of architecture once again in a few sentences as can be seen below. As I hurried up to this deserted place, I was seized with an unexpected joy, and stopped to admire at leisure the immensity and stupendous height of the structure, which was such a bold example of the architectural art, considering with astonishment the weight and density of this fragmented, half-ruined building. Poliphilo, after this very moment, will begin to describe and emphasize the importance of these artifacts with an unstoppable sense of admiration, and will utilize this sense of admiration to the antique and architectural objects as a means of remedy that will bring him to his Polia. As my loud, amorous sighs resounded in the close air of this solitary and deserted place, I was reminded of my divine and immeasurably desired Polia. How short a time had this immense and celestial ideal been absent from my mind, whose image was the perpetual companion of my unknown journey, in which my soul had established a nest for its contented repose, feeling as secure there as if it were deep within a forest and immune from all fear. Here it is vital that we open a parenthesis for the ability of depiction of the author, Leon Battista Alberti. As a matter of fact, after long paragraphs of immense architectural admiration, when turning the attention to the idea of Polia as an imminent and ultimate path, the author does not indulge in short sentences or immediate shifts. On the contrary, Polia is shown and depicted as a true means of self-realization for the narrator. Just as Poliphilo's multifaceted admiration for everything that surrounds him, the characters, the ornaments, and most importantly, the artifacts that appear to stun Poliphilo offer another level of interpretation for the readers as well. As can be seen in pages 37 and 39, the artifacts that appear to be a sculpture and a rug have multilingual inscriptions on them. I will discuss this matter when we come to the chapter with the three portals. Alberti, when enriching the reader's experience, not only benefited from Latin, while adding inscriptions to these fiction artifacts, but also Arabic and Ionian letters appear next to one another, whose translations can be found at the end of the book, once again for the readers. Page 46 includes a paragraph in which the author, beyond explaining how such magnificent artifacts make Poliphilo feel, also give instructions to a true architect, and which rules they should take heed of. For to the serious architect, being comes before well-being. That is to say, he must know above all how to arrange the solid mass and complete in his mind the entire fabric, rather than the decorations that are accessory to the principal matter. Leon Battista Alberti's vast pool of knowledge does not end here either. In page 47, while continuing on this etude of ideal architecture, he compares some aspects of the field of architecture to the field of music. In later paragraphs, we will also observe that Alberti is keen on utilizing his knowledge of plants and trees as a means of enriching Poliphilo's dream sequences. After the architect has done this, he reduces it by minute divisions, just as the musician sets the scale and the largest unit of rhythm before subdividing them proportionately into chromaticisms and small notes. Page 55 will welcome the readers with a great portal. What causes Poliphilo to go through the portal and swing amongst the dark is a dragon of sorts. This unexpected and sudden sense of fear of death brings Poliphilo once again to the focal point and cleanses his consciousness. I rejected death, refused its advantages, and regretted its nauseous presence. For I was incensed when I thought of how I might die without any consummation of my immense love, and without enjoying any fruits of that sweet inflammation. If my loved one had suddenly appeared before me here and now, I would have thought nothing of that, but I returned to my fixed and habitual object, weeping for the loss of two such dear things, Polia and my precious life. One of the most surprising aspects of something as divine as love and the act of loving is that it can be described to the point of excess. Although the world-renowned poets, writers, and geniuses of the mankind history have benefited from all sorts of words, analogies, and wordplays to contemplate on and understand the concept of love. And even though there are more and more analogies made every single moment to describe this momentless feeling, love gains meaning and significance. It is exactly for that reason that I would recommend you to read the pages between 58 and 68 calmly, which includes a text that constitutes the stream of consciousness of a desperate Poliphilo on the brink of death and love. Poliphilo, after this unlucky situation, which is that he was chased by a dragon into the portal, embarks on a wholly new means of existence, during which the story is enriched with mythological figures as the pages go on. At this exact moment, Leon Battista Alberti mentions the nymphs which will accompany Poliphilo on his path of finding his love. There, at page 68, we see the utilization of the botany by Alberti to describe the dense atmosphere Poliphilo indulged himself in. I could see an unknown mountain of medium steepness, all wooded with green and pleasant foliage, acorn-bearing rhubards, beeches and oaks, holm oaks, turkey oaks, winter oaks, and cork oaks, besides the two kinds of ilex, of which one is the yew and the other is the holy or prickly one. Further on toward the plain, it was dense with cornel cherries, hazels, fragrant and flowering privets, with their perfumed blossoms of two colors, showing red to the north and white to the south. Always hasten slowly. The first figure that appears as Poliphilo embarks on this new land is a parapet, which has various hieroglyphs, but most importantly, the carving which uttered the sentence above. Moreover, from the Ionian letters, Poliphilo makes out an interpretation from the carving. Always hasten slowly. Patience is the ornament, guardian, and protector of life. The idea of Festina Lente is also used as a motto in their logo by the Aldine Press, who pioneered the printing of Hypnerotomachia Poliphilo in 1499 and Dante's Divine Comedy in 1502 as well. Before going any more forward, let's finish this chapter with this final segment, which describes the mother of all in all its beauty by Poliphilo. I cannot describe adequately how delicate, how elegant, and perfect this image was, to which was added the beauty of the stone, which was like polished ivory. Once again, I especially admired the fine pierced drill work of the branches and cedar-like foliage, the birds with their little feet so precisely carved, and the figure of a satyr. Below this miraculous sculpture, on the flat fascia between the gullets and the mouldings, I saw inscribed the mysterious saying in fine Attic characters, the mother of all.
The book is generally attributed to Francesco Colonna because of the acronym Frater Francesco Colonna Pollia Paramavit, which is an acronym composed of the first letters of each one of the chapters. The reason for my attribution of the book to Leon Battista Alberti is that there are a great number of remarkable coincidences between his work and this. First, Alberti was not only an architect, he wrote at least 7 books on love that have been ignored by other scholars. Second, a mere 30 pages of 370 of the book are devoted to the action of the actual love quest, to its dialogues and inner monologues. The rest of the book is taken up by descriptions of beautiful landscapes and gardens and antique gardens. And we know that besides being the most sought after architect of his day, he was also the most sought after landscape designer and garden designer. There are many other fingerprints Alberti left behind in his Hypnerotomachia. Among them is the picture of the winged eye. And if you look, here is the eye again, below his face in the medallion we saw in the very beginning. Most obviously, Alberti's job in life was as a papal abbreviator. He worked in the papal court as someone who wrote speeches and condensed speeches for the Pope. And the painting on the left is of Alberti himself, and he's wearing exactly the same cloak as a papal abbreviator in the as Poliphili does in the Hypnerotomachia, Polifilo.